Shit Talkers, welcome back. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of Hollywood Shit, where we talk about all the good shit, the bad shit, everything in between. And today we are talking about celebrity behavior in terms of anger management. We are talking about that. Anger management issues, basically, and just there's a lot surrounding that. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Ali Kona Bradford. Of course, I'm joined by two amazing, wonderful hosts. And last time I let the lady introduce herself first, so I'm going to throw it over to my gentleman.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Carter. Just kidding. I'm Jason Carter. Hi, everyone.
Did I say gentleman? What was I talking about? Okay, anyways, and of course, we have my lady.
I'm Liz Crokin.
Alrighty, so yeah, there's so many celebrities and we see this like outlandish, crazy behavior, and sometimes you gotta wonder if they get away with it just because they're celebrities, which obviously I think a lot of us know they do. But the one that stuck out in my mind the most was Chris Brown. And we're trying to decipher, like, how does that even happen as far as you have the world handed to you? Yeah, sure. But how come some of these celebrities are so stable, I guess you could call it, and others are just plain can't keep themselves out of trouble? And so I'm leading this with Chris Brown just because a friend of mine was working out in North Hollywood. There's a 24-hour fitness with a basketball court, and he was in there playing basketball with some of his entourage. Apparently, the gentleman he was playing against won, and so Chris Brown was a little ticked off, and he had his people beat him up. So Chris Brown didn't want to lay a hand on him because obviously legally maybe not his thing, but
maybe he's just really a pussy.
That's possible too, but either way, he ended up having his homies beat this person up, and then they went running out of the gym, and of course my friend happened to be there.
When did this happen? Was it recently?
No, it was a couple years ago, but it's just one of those things where I feel like he was for a while there constantly getting in trouble for some sort of physical violence, whether it was him and Drake in the club or just dumb
beating
shit.
the crap out of Rihanna.
Yeah, beating. And how is that okay? You beat the shit out of your girlfriend, and somehow people still love you, still want to buy your music. If I was your record label, I'd be like, no, you're tainting my image. You gotta go. I'm breaking your contract. But that's just me.
Yeah, but when you're working with people that are evil at the record company, then they're not going to care about stuff like that.
Because, I mean, their check is going to leave if Chris Brown leaves, so at the end of the day, it's all about money. But, I mean, Chris Brown
all
did...
the money.
But here's the thing. Chris Brown lost Wrigley's endorsement that was worth millions. He lost a lot of things off the whole Rihanna debacle, you know? So, and Rihanna... And furthermore, Rihanna's career totally shot... just skyrocketed after...
But that makes no sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense to me because here she is going on the record talking about the fact that she got beat up by her boyfriend, and she's all of a sudden this poster child for people or for women, battered women, and how you should stand up for yourself and speak out. And then she goes and she gets back together with him, whether it's businessly or if it really was romantically. I feel like when you're a celebrity, you have this certain responsibility to your fans, whether you like it or not. You chose that lifestyle to be a certain standard of a person and a human being. And if you know you have a lot of women that look up to you, boo-boo, put your feelings aside and don't get back together with the dude who beat the crap out of you.
Well, I don't think they were back together.
They did a song together.
They went to like the Grammys together or something. There was like one, it lasted like a week, but maybe it was a publicity stunt we were talking about the last episode.
Yeah, but regardless, I would not be affiliated with that person. Like, I just wouldn't.
Oh, I mean, anyone in their right mind, you know, oh, absolutely. I mean, if someone who beats you viciously.
But when you're with someone that beats you, you're not in your right mind.
Right, and we also don't know the whole story behind what caused that altercation. I mean, no one, okay, listen, no.
Supposedly she's a little crazy, though.
She's crazy.
She got to temper.
Right.
And
I mean, no man should ever put their hand on a woman, but no woman should ever put their hand on a man either.
Agreed.
You know? So, we don't know what happened with that, but we're talking about tempers, and you know, throughout the 90s, you heard about rappers like Foxy Brown, Lil' Kim.
Oh, God, yeah.
Spitting on people. I think that it comes from... I could never fathom. I think spitting on someone is the lowest, grossest thing you could do.
Yeah, it's so gross. Like,
Naomi Campbell.
Do that.
I was saying Naomi Campbell did that to cops when she found out that her luggage was missing at the airport.
And she probably was coked up, too.
That's probably
true. Drugs, I think that drugs come into play with a lot of this behavior. People are not really in their right mind. But then you also do have celebrities like Mel Gibson and...
He's an alcoholic.
Well, yeah, and he's like... not sober.
Yeah.
He's a lunatic himself.
That just...
Well, but you have to factor in, I covered Rihanna. I was working for the magazines when that whole thing with Chris Brown and Rihanna went down. And, you know, she comes from a family that has a history of abuse. Like, I believe that her mother was abused by her father, and it's very common for women who have been raised to, see that is acceptable in your family to be attracted to someone that's going to continue that pattern that, your father had with your mother. So, from a doctor's perspective, not like I'm a doctor, but there are a lot of women that end up with abusive men like Chris Brown, end up with men like that because that's what they know, right? And that's what they learn to be normal. And you gravitate to what is normal from your childhood or your upbringing or whatever it may be. And, her family was from Barbados, and I've talked to some of her family members, and there was like abuse that happened in her family, and she saw that when she was a child, and I think that had a huge effect on her.
But didn't you say, okay, publicity, a lot of times you have your PR people and all that are involved in your business, whether it's your romantic life, like we said in our last episode, people arranging marriages or what have you. You would think your publicist would be like, hey, this is not really a good look, so I'm going to need you to not be involved with this person, regardless if it's going back to that person or even getting involved in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I think, of course, that happens all the time. But, I mean, after that happened with Rihanna, like, she broke up with him. And there was one incident where she was at an award show with him, and it looked like they might be getting back together. And for all we know, that was a publicity stunt. So,
right.
But at the end of the day, like, we were talking about publicity stunts before. When you look at someone like Kanye West, like, some people that work for you just tell you exactly what you want to hear.
Which is so dumb to me.
Right, but it's because when you look at someone like Kanye West, we know he has a temper, like, that's pretty clear. And when you're that volatile of a person, the people that work for you become afraid to tell you the truth.
Right.
Because if they tell you the truth,
then
you get fired and you lose your money. And it's like, I've recently, as a journalist, have been doing a lot of stories exposing the extreme bias there is covering this election. And I'm finding out, like, that there are a lot of reporters that are told to report in a very biased way, and they don't feel good about it, and they don't like it. But guess what? They have children. They have mouths to feed. And so this happens all the time. And you look at someone like Kanye West, and Kanye West, like, he's surrounded by yes people, and these people tell him what he wants to hear because they want to stay on the gravy train. And that happens a lot. And that's why celebrities start doing really wacky things, is because they don't live in reality anymore. And they think that when just think about it. If everything you posted on your social media page, for example, like, let's say you could say anything. You could, like, say, I'm gonna, eat a puppy for dinner tonight, and then you post a picture of it, okay? Let's say you could say anything, and every time that you posted anything, every comment was positive. You would start believing that every messed up thing that you said was acceptable, and not only acceptable, it was like good behavior, normal. That's what happens with these celebrities. They start living in this alternative universe because everyone around them tells them what they want to hear. They're not told the truth. So when you have a celebrity go on the red carpet and they're wearing the most horrendous thing you've ever seen in your entire life, it's because there were people in that circle that didn't tell them no.
Right.
That never said you look ridiculous, Yeah,
but I feel like there's certain level of judgment that you should have of your own self, and you should know as an adult what looks crazy and what doesn't. And I feel like that's at a point where someone has truly lost themselves. And it's interesting too, because how come there are some amazing, wonderful celebrities, and you got people like Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio, and I mean, I don't know what skeletons are in their closet, but in terms of just being great people to humanity, doing all these wonderful things, you've never seen any of them act out of sorts. I mean, Leo's dated some crazy individuals as far as age-wise that you raise an eyebrow, but outside of that, he's fighting for the environment and doing this and doing that. How come, and he's been doing it since he was little, Growing Pains from the 90s. I used to love him, but that's a person who's been in the limelight and somehow he's still sane. And then you have other people like, Kanye West, and you're like, where did this person lose their mind and how did that happen? Because, I don't know, maybe it's just me as an adult. I just feel like there's certain things you just know better, even if people are like, that's great.
Well, I think it depends on your family. Like, if you look at Leo's, he's very close to his mother. He always brings her as his date to award shows and stuff. So I think she did a good job raising him. And Justin Timberlake's really close with his mother too. I think it's, you know, a lot the kids in Hollywood, they're now adults, whatever, that were raised well, they don't go crazy. Now you look at someone like Michael Jackson, who went nuts. I had the misfortune of having dinner with his dad, who's
How'd that
lunatic. I was working for Us Weekly, and his dad, I was in Chicago, and his dad had some event in the suburbs of Chicago, and I had to go interview him, and it was the weirdest thing I'd ever done in my life. And there was a party at a house, and I had dinner with him in this house with, like, he was with a bunch of, like, women on his, like, record label, but they were all his, like, side girls, and it was, like, the weirdest thing ever. Like, anyways, like, I mean, Michael Jackson, like, look at the way he was raised. Like, his dad was so abusive and, like, total shady character, and that's, you know, if you don't have a solid foundation, then you're gonna go nuts in this business, like, for sure.
Well, I think I always think about that too, like Beyonce. How Beyonce, I mean, and we, you know, as you said, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know what transpires, you know, in the dark. That has yet to come to light. But I do think that what Liz says, that does depend on their upbringing. Like, you know, parents who, I know if I was famous, I would, if I would have been famous younger, I would have the good teachings of my mom, you know, to, like, have some sense and not act like a total asshole in public. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that a lot of these people that, like Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes,
perfect example. Look at Lindsay Lohan's parents.
Right, they're fucked up.
They're the biggest two train wrecks ever.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, and you don't have, that's just what it boils down to, you know. But Naomi Campbell, just some people have been made to feel that they are above everything. I mean, she's part of the holy trinity of the supermodels of the 90s. I mean, Naomi Campbell is probably the most, even now in her late, Naomi Campbell's 46.
How has drugs not affected her face?
I mean, she's nipped and tucked.
I guess.
What was her upbringing like? I don't know much about.
Single mom from London, you know, and she was discovered in Covent Garden. And she became a supermodel thereafter, you know.
But she hung out with, like, Kate Moss and all those other people that were all doing drugs.
Right, in the 90s. I mean, Kate Moss was doing drugs at 15 years old. I mean, she was a Calvin Klein model. She was
That's nothing. Drew Barrymore was, like, doing drugs at, like, 5.
Yeah.
No, I was kidding. But no, seriously, she was doing drugs at, like, 7 or, like, oh, yeah, Drew Barrymore was going nightclubs with her mom at the age of, like, 7.
Jeez.
Like,
she's in a picture with Mick Jagger and Bianca Jagger. Yeah, just...
It's gross. It's
at
really
Studio 54.
Actually, if you want to talk about the fact that Drew Barrymore is sane and not totally messed up, considering her background, is a complete and total anomaly.
But I mean, I love Drew Barrymore. I mean, Drew Barrymore, being a 90s kid, Drew Barrymore actually turned. I remember the first issue of Teen People, September of 1998.
Oh my God.
Drew Barrymore was on the cover.
He's crazy with dates.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't noticed.
In 1998, she was 23. So, to me, it was like, they talked about her turning her life around. She was in the Scream movies. She was a part of that new Brat Pack, Jennifer Love Hewitt. So it was just so cool to see that she made the conscious choice to turn her life around.
I think, though, like, she talks about this, like, Steven Spielberg stepped in and was, like, basically like a father figure to her. And I think if it wasn't for people like him stepping in and becoming, like, parental figures for her, then she really... was set up to go down a really dark path.
And also, I think these stars, these young starlets and stars, they're cries for help, because the people who I've learned in my life, when you don't want love is when you need it the most. When you're pushing people away is when actually you want people closer. You just, whatever anger, whatever you're going through is that shield or that barrier that keeps you from reaching that. But ultimately, you want someone to be like, hey, are you okay? Or whatever. I didn't have very many good father figures growing up. I didn't have very many good male role models growing up. And I realized that in my adulthood, that now looking back, I wanted that. I needed that. I craved that. I yearned for that.
Of course, every child wants like that.
So you act out in certain ways. Kanye West. I think Kanye didn't really go off the deep end, and we're talking about temper tantrums in our last episode. I mean, we're talking about Kanye in our last episode. But after his mom died, I think that's when he really went left, because from 2000 and Kanye West became Kanye West was producing music before he became Kanye West.
Right.
He did tracks for Alicia Keys. Like, he was a ghostwriter for a lot of people before he actually became Kanye West. So, through his first albums, he really wasn't out of control.
Wait, was the VMA Taylor Swift incident, was that before his mom died or after?
I think that was after his mom died.
Okay, so that's when he started kind of really going off the deep end.
And
because he doesn't have mom keep him in line anymore. She'd be like, "What are you doing,
I could be
boy?"
wrong. I could be wrong. It's really late here. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying, early Kanye was not the Kanye that came to be, in the late 2000s. But these stars, what I don't understand is where, if before you were, let's say like as an adult, we become famous. Like, okay, Britney Spears. 2007 to 2008, Britney Spears was by far the most
She was insane.
Insane.
Yeah, the umbrella.
Right, which I
Shaking her
love.
head.
But I mean,
It was, I mean, insane.
And was that real or was that
staged? No, that was
that was
definitely
100% real.
Like, remember when she used to flash her beef? Like,
Oh, yeah, I was like, her beef.
no,
What's her
like
beef?
she literally on purpose would like flash her beef, like for the paparazzi. She would wear mini skirts, and then she would like get out of a car and like flash it, and it would be like unshaven and like not
Ew.
not like there was an attractive beef shot, but it was like
Never heard anybody call that
Me
beef.
neither.
you know what? My best friend, she like always uses that word, and I've never used that word until I met her, and she's always like my beef, but. Anyways, pussy, whatever you want to call it. But no, she's a perfect example of like total like celebrity gone like as far south as you can go.
And it's crazy too because when she dated Justin Timberlake, they were considered the prince and the princess of pop. I was miserable because I love Justin Timberlake. But anyways, they seem like this great perfect couple, and then you see that he ends up one way and she just
I know that
spiraled.
broke my heart, and they both were so cute together, and they both like had so much in common. They both were pop stars, and they came from the sweet southern families and all this stuff, and and then she just blew it, cheated on him, and everything else is just history.
Right.
It's just such a disappointment.
Well, speaking of Justin Timberlake too, just to go back to I think people don't realize we idolize celebrities so much that we forget that they are humans and they do have those type of upbringings and what have you. And actually, a good friend of mine that Jason may know had danced with Justin for a long time. And when she found out I liked him, she was like, "Oh, he's the perfect amount of everything. The perfect amount of gentleman, the perfect amount of talented at this." She's like, "He's just that right amount of everything and not too much." But she said, he had a lot of daddy issues because his father did leave when he was a young person. And she did not say it outright, but pretty much alluded that the reason that him and Jessica Biel broke up the first time was his fault, and a lot of it had to do with his own personal daddy issues. So he took it upon himself to go get help, to go see a therapist, to try to get himself back together again. And then after that, obviously, him and Jessica got back together. But I thought that was really cool. Like, way to be accountable.
Yeah.
You acknowledge the fact that, yes, I do have these issues, and I'm going to go get help. I'm not going to go out and just create a mess of myself, my career, people I love that are close to me, like so many other celebrities. And what blows my mind is I went to DARE. Like when I was in elementary school, I went to DARE. Crack kills.
Right.
Whitney, crack kills.
Right.
Sorry, no disrespect. But you are not superhuman. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter
Right.
how popular you are or success you have in the industry. Drugs screw you up, and they can end your life. So never past the age of 3rd grade would I ever contemplate getting myself into a situation that some of these celebrities do. And I understand the industry is so much pressure. I can't even begin to say that I know what it feels like because I don't. However, I do know that no matter what is thrown at me in life, the last thing I'm going to do is be like, I'm going to go do some LSD right now. Maybe a little cocaine, maybe mix in some alcohol, and like have a good time.
Well, no, a lot of people, I feel like, a lot of people do drugs. I've never done drugs.
Me neither.
So but I do know what it's like to need an escape. I do know what it's like to be stressed out to the point where, everything, it feels like you have the world on your shoulders. And a lot of these stars really do have the world on their shoulders. When you're a global phenomenon, such as Britney Spears was through the 2000s, even now, people are on bated breath for this new album that comes out tomorrow. I mean, out of control. But, like you can't escape it. So you need an escape. You need some kind of way to cope. You need some kind of way to deal with this. And that's why I turn to drugs. But what I was going to say, though, too, is people, I think society loves a comeback story. They love a comeback story.
Absolutely.
Totally.
And when you said it perfectly, because I know I go to therapy because I wanted to fix myself, because I wanted to not fix myself in a way that I was broken, but figure out why I think the way I do, or why do I've had relationships I've had, or and because I too had daddy issues. Like I dated a bunch of loser guys. You know some of them.
Yeah.
So
we all have, unfortunately.
But you as you get older, you start to think, why do we do these things? I think a lot of stars, they're, for whatever reason, they haven't dealt with themselves, and when you get thrust into the limelight, that's a whole other life. You don't have time to deal with yourself. Yourself is no longer yourself. You are now what everybody wants you to be.
I think that being in the spotlight literally puts a spotlight on other issues that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these celebrities have gone crazy and they turn to alcohol and drugs. I don't necessarily think it's fame that makes them go down that route. I think that it stems from like abuse or sexual assault or something else that happens, and then they're dealing or trying to deal with that on top of dealing with being thrown in the spotlight. Some of these celebrities at very young ages, and they just implode. Mm-hmm. Really bad recipe. Becoming famous and having issues with, some, like I was talking about Michael Jackson, look at him. Like, his father was extremely abusive, okay? So take him, for example, he was abused as a child, and then he was thrown into the spotlight, and he became the breadwinner for the entire family at the age of, 5?
Yeah.
I don't see how any human being could not be messed up from that. So fame just kind of, I think, adds to problems that you already have, and if you already have a lot of problems and you become famous, that's really honestly a horrible place to be in.
I'll say your problems that you would have had regardless now are just lived out in front of the entire public.
Right, and they're so magnified. Fame is like a really double-edged sword. It's everyone thinks it would be so great, and it's like, oh, how cool it would be to be on the cover of all these magazines. And actually last episode we were talking about Kendall Jenner. Jason was talking about how she seems to be like the most amazing, stable Kardashian. Technically she's a Jenner, but person that's part of the Kardashian clan. And actually she has serious anxiety issues. And in one of the recent Kardashian episodes, they barely touched on this, but I picked up on it because I'm so in tune with the business and cover these celebrities. In the last episode, one of the last episodes, Kris Jenner talked about how she had to take a last-minute flight to London to see Kendall because she was having a panic attack.
Oh.
Okay, so that's, if your mom has to fly, across the world because you're having a panic attack, then you have really serious anxiety issues. So I think there's a lot more actually going on with Kendall than they're letting us know about, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, and that's understandable. I mean, God, she grew up on TV. Yeah. And it wasn't like a fake show. Like, her real life, her real reality was on TV. And now she's pressured into doing all these gigs. I mean, she's doing amazing, good for her, but I don't know. I think it's way too much, and which, of course she has anxiety.
Right.
Who wouldn't? What sane person wouldn't have that?
I have anxiety. I'm nowhere near famous as any of these people.
I have bad anxiety too. Like, we all do, So imagine living your whole life on TV, and then your dad becomes a woman, and
that's a lot. That's a lot.
It's like you can't catch a break. You're like, really? What's next?
Right. Right.
They both Kylie and Kendall have major anxiety issues. I don't know. I worry about them. I think that it'll be interesting to see what happens with them over the next 10 years, because when the older girls like Kim, Khloe, Kourtney, when they became famous, they were already adults, basically. Their sisters weren't. They were still kids. When you're thrust in the spotlight as a child, the odds of you becoming successful and staying sober and sane and stable they decrease. I mean, I've learned that just by covering a lot of child stars, for years. It's very rare that you're famous as a child and turn out okay.
Right.
I mean, look at Kim Richards.
That's sad.
Real Housewives.
Yeah.
Well, who?
But you do have some people who were child stars that turn out okay,
Yeah, but those are the ones that have the good family backgrounds.
Like Kirk Cameron.
Wow. Actually, I'm glad you said that, because I do want to put a little bit of positive.
Candace Beer.
I was say I want to put a little bit of a positive twist on the things that we're talking about, because I know a lot of times we've been harping on these celebrities, and obviously, we love them a lot. We wouldn't be talking about them if
for yourself.
we didn't. I love Justin Timberlake, and I thought, it might be good to at least end this one on a positive note and just pay homage maybe to some people that we feel like have handled their celebrityhood graciously, and they have been excellent role models, whether
Whitney
it's...
Houston.
If you don't stop, cut it
Crack
out.
is whack, man.
Yeah.
Please tell me you're kidding.
Oprah. Whitney. How'd you
No,
smoke her
but
crack?
seriously, is
No,
there
you're
anybody that you've ever seen that you really truly look up to? And again, I mean,
That was a child star or just a star in general?
maybe one of each. I earlier made mention of Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm a huge fan of his work, not only artistically, but I mean the things that he stands for as a person, I think are fantastic. And
I know who I really dig, who I think is a super duper cool star. I'm delirious.
Yeah.
Blake Lively.
yeah,
Love Blake Lively.
She's so pretty.
Pretty and smart, and because I'm a huge fan of Gossip Girl, I binge watch every season all
he
the time.
totally got me into that show.
It's the bomb, right?
I know.
Blair Waldorf is everything. Yeah, really good. But she's young. She grew up in the business. Her mom was a talent scout. I mean, her sister Robin Lively was an '80s star. Teen Witch.
No way, they're
yeah.
related?
Yeah.
I love Teen Witch.
Me
You don't
too.
understand. I watched it over and over again on HBO.
Great movie. Me too.
High five.
And also, I have to give an honorable mention to Winona Ryder. She's, one star that...
Wait a second. She was caught
Clapto.
stealing.
Stop, hold on.
What the hell?
Wait for it. America Loves a Comeback.
Okay.
And she's Stranger Things right now. Winona Ryder is still a big deal. Heathers is the original Mean Girls. And
Yeah, that was actually. I barely remember that movie, but that was a good
original
movie.
Mean Girls. But Blake Lively to me is someone who is married to Ryan Reynolds, who's hot. She
Yeah.
was able to parlay a pretty
Yeah,
successful show. She went to Burbank High. She got into the industry. She didn't lose her shit and become a druggie. Has 2 children.
But part of the reason why the people that can stay sane in the business don't really hang out in the business.
Right.
They don't live in Hollywood. Where does Blake live?
They
Don't
live
in the country
Canada.
somewhere?
Yeah, like in
Also,
the woods.
Well, there you
Alyssa
go.
Milano. Alyssa Milano from Who's the Boss?
What is she doing?
She's amazing. Alyssa Milano, she has 2 million followers on Instagram.
That's how we judge success now. She's great.
No,
She's 2 million
but
followers. Whatever.
she's an advocate on breastfeeding in public. She's like,
Whoa, high
what's
five.
wrong with that? She's like, I'm a woman.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing. That's just a random thing to be an advocate for. She's an advocate.
I'm an advocate for popping pimples in public, okay?
That's the weirdest.
But I was saying, she's a child star who's even
But is she on a show or anything right now?
She was on Mistresses and she left the show. because
Oh,
she
right.
wanted to
That
be
was a
back in-
good show.
It's a great show. Jerry O'Connell, awesome dude. Work out with him at 24 Fitness. No?
I don't know. He's the nicest guy, and I feel bad saying this now, but yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wait,
There's-
We love Jerry
We
O'Connell.
love him. Yeah,
wait,
but
where
think
do I
there
know
might
the
be
name? I
some-
don't know the face.
Stand By Me.
He was the
He's married to Rebecca Romaine.
Oh.
No, I will say that he's the nicest guy ever. And actually, he was filming a movie in Chicago, and I randomly met him at a Starbucks, and I was like, oh hey, I just randomly met him at Starbucks, and I'm like, oh, I heard you're filming a movie here. I actually write for the Chicago Tribune. I write their gossip column. And I ended up writing about him and his film in the next column, and he emailed me hey, what's up? Thanks for writing about me.
He's very nice.
The nicest guy ever. But it was so weird because then I ran into him a few years later in Hollywood, and he did not seem or look well. I was really I was really taken aback by it actually. And,
Really?
yeah, it was gnarly. It was he was so skinny, weird skinny. There was something
drugs
wrong with
skinny
him.
or AIDS
Something
skinny?
weird. And part of me was well, maybe he's losing weight for a role. You never know.
True, very true.
But he didn't seem well. But that was years ago, so who knows?
The last person I actually will bring up that I love so much is Jared Leto. And I only recently got into him. I watched My So-Called Life, and, he was the cute boy, maybe-ish. Wasn't my flavor
Jordan
back
Catalano?
then. Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
my flavor
that was
back
a
then.
good show.
But yeah, I really respect him as an actor. And, ever since he did Dallas Buyers Club, I was like...
Oh, I love
Praise,
that movie.
he won an Oscar for it.
Yeah, a fantastic...
That was one of the best movies ever.
Did a great job, I think, in Suicide Squad, which is a whole other topic because that movie, everyone is talking about how much of a mess it is. But in general, I feel like he's another one. haven't heard of him doing anything weird, creepy, and crazy that I know
Wait,
of.
Jared Leto?
Yeah.
Oh, I have. So you know what? I won't even say it. But yeah, I
No,
heard
no,
weird
it's okay. It's okay.
one of my girlfriends went on a date with him, and he basically was like, "Just so you know, I sleep with guys, so you better be okay with that."
Oh.
And she was like, and that's how she reacted. She goes, "Oh, okay, well, no, that's like, not okay. So I guess we're not gonna date." And that was that. So I don't know.
Okay, well.
Well, I heard that about Ryan Phillippe too.
Nuh-uh. I used to love him, but he's, I don't know, not as...
That's so. You know what? That's so weird because my girlfriend just like had some recent experiences with guys, and she's come to a theory that every single guy has had straight guy that or claims to be straight guy has had an experience with a dude. And she's like, I now do this little thing where every guy I meet, I'll be like, hey, can I just ask you something off the record? I'll never repeat it. Have you ever had an experience with a dude? And every single time, every guy will be like, no, ew, ew, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, but then like a minute later after one drink, they'll be like, oh, there was this tranny once who sucked my dick, but like, I mean, whatever. And she's like, and she's like, literally every single guy. And I'm like, she's like, she's like convinced that every guy like is like has some kind of gay tendency because she's.
I believe it.
Hey.
And on that note,
Anyways, but you know, all shades of gray, right?
Yeah.
I will say this though. It doesn't matter. These stars, it doesn't matter about their past. Like I said, I appreciate stars that have been through it, that have come through it, and have ended up being awesome people, like Drew Barrymore, like Lindsay Lohan, who have like totally just like.
Wait, has Lindsay come back
She
yet?
I just read that she just like, I don't know if she got arrested, but she
I know,
just.
I'm joking.
I'm like, oh, I thought you were being serious.
No, I know.
She was on that path though. Like she was doing
Definitely
good.
was.
I was like, wow,
Elizabeth
she
Taylor,
has.
like they really.
Oprah is like intervened.
Yeah, she could totally have been the new Drew Barrymore.
I think she still has potential because she's been out of trouble. She's been living in London for a while. But apparently she has some boyfriend that they've been like publicly like beating each other up. Like there's pictures of the cover of a magazine the other week. So
Good times.
Gross.
yeah.
All right.
So on that note,
Well, yes, on that
we
note,
started talking about Rihanna and Chris Brown and like
it's gone all over the place.
White.
But we always enjoy talking to you guys. So if there's anything you ever want to talk about, please, by all means, send us your tweets. We definitely take a look at them and we take them into consideration. I know somebody had been tweeting about Scientology. I'm sure we'll hit that topic. But either way, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you follow us at Hollywood Shit LA on Twitter. And you can follow us individually if you want to chat with us as well. My name is Ali Kona Bradford, and I am at Boys and Beauty.
I'm Jason Carter. I'm at JJC Forever on Twitter and Jason Carter Official on Insta.
And I'm Liz Crokin. I'm at Liz Crokin on Instagram and Twitter.
That silly social media thing. Anyways, thanks again so much. And if you love us, please rate, comment, subscribe, comment. I said that already. And share. Share us with a friend. Until next time, we will see you. Goodbye.